Salve, my name is Sabu, and today's Latin lesson is going to be about how to put music to Latin poetry, to ancient Latin poetry, about 2000 years old, and we can make modern music to it. We might want to do this for all sorts of different reasons. I'm not going to discuss these now, I just want to get going. Before I studied Latin, before I went back to school and learned Latin, and then later I went on to study at uni, I was a high school dropout and spent a couple of years making music. Yeah, on a somewhat professional level. But I was neither a guitarist nor a singer. So when I am teaching right now about how to put music to Latin poetry, and I'm using voice and I'm using guitar, then I'm a beginner with these tools. So anyways, I hope that this tutorial is absolutely beginner friendly. It's not supposed to be aimed at people who have a lot of musical experience. It's not aimed at composers or anything, but if you've never touched a guitar in your life, then you're my crowd, basically. What we still have of Latin poetry is we of course have all these wonderful texts, and we know that very, very many of them used to basically be song lyrics. They were sung, they were performed, some of them were performed including dances. So what we don't have anymore are the melodies, the instrumentation, that is all lost. But what we have are the rhythms, which is the meter. So if we want to put music to these poems, to these song lyrics, turn them into songs again, we should see to that we stick to the meter, at least if we want to do it, well, somewhat correctly, professionally, whatever you want to call it. It would be a pity to also destroy that or ignore that what we still do have, and that's the rhythm. Now, I think what's important is that we do this for fun, that we don't have the idea it has to sound wonderful. I mean, me, for example, as I said, I was never a guitarist, so, don't expect any amazing stuff here from me. It's also not necessary, and I'm a very crappy singer. I think that also doesn't matter. It's about having fun. It's about enjoying these texts and taking the emotion of the words into a different type of emotion which we express through our music, because music is emotion. Now, if you are a total beginner, and I hope you are, otherwise this is not your video, it would be great if you could get a guitar from someone. Maybe a friend or a family member owns one. If you're lucky, it's not an acoustic guitar. I'm a bit unlucky. If you're lucky, it's an electric guitar, because, well, we'll have to press these strings down. And to do this on an acoustic guitar is more difficult, it's more painful, and well, with an electric guitar it's easier. You get results faster. So if you can get your hands on an electric guitar, better. Well, okay. Then the next thing is, well, if you have no idea about guitar chords, it doesn't matter. Get yourself a songbook. I, for example, got myself this when I was 12, because I was a great Beatles fan as a kid. I still own it today. And the cool thing is, like with a thing like this, you're going to have lots of chords in there. I mean, if it's the guitar version, it should obviously be the guitar edition. You have guitar chords in there. They look like this. You have all these little pictures here. Here you see how these chords are transcribed. This way of writing chords is very great for beginners to work with, because what this is this is a picture of the actual fretboard. Like a guitar has 6 strings, so you have vertically 6 tiny lines here, which are the 6 strings, and the black dots on top. That's where you have to put your fingers. So if you flip through a songbook like this, you're going to, well, find pictures of very many different chords. Some of them are going to look very difficult. Some of them are going to look easy. So you just go try around. Yeah, there are some for which you'll really have to force your fingers to do stuff that you maybe feel you won't ever be able doing. Well, then leave that one out. Don't use it. For our purpose, you don't have to be able to play very many of these at all. Go to YouTube and watch some tutorials on how to read these, these chords and where to put your fingers, and then you'll be all set. So what's good about a Fat songbook? What's good about a Beatles songbook, for example? What I appreciate for a purpose like ours is that the Beatles were a band which composed songs in very many different moods. There are fast ones and slow ones, there are sad ones and happy ones and aggressive ones and quiet ones and jolly ones and everything. So it's a good basis basically for all the different moods you find in Latin poetry. When you flip through such a book, you're going to quickly see that one pattern repeats itself, and that's that the first chord in a song is the same as the last chord in a song. This song, for example, in my life, starts on a chord called A and ends on the same chord. If you look over here, what Day Tripper does on the same double page, it's the same thing. It starts on E and ends on E. So that's something you can straight away remember. If you put music to something, it's cool if you start out on one chord, that the song then also comes home to this chord. That gives it a well-rounded sound. You don't always have to do it, but you'll realize that if you don't, it might sound like the song wants to go on, and it's difficult to come to an end. Whereas you come full circle if you end on the same chord where you also started. Now the text I'm going to use and put music to is just a little bit of Horace, which I used as an example for another video. So that's the only reason why I pick it right now, because we've worked with it before. And what I want to do is, if I want to put music to that now in a very easy way, in a very beginner's friendly way, I would think about, what kind of a mood does this bit have? And this bit of Horace I have, it is a little bit of a larger poem, and the poem is going through different emotions. It's about two people who used to be together, a boy and a girl. They split up. But they do have different partners by now. Both of them are in new relationships, but still they have this passion for one another. So there is this longing for something they used to have, they can't have anymore at the moment. But there is this idea, wouldn't it be maybe possible to get back together? So it's a song that's set between passion and sadness, and also there's this jolly, cocky, playful thing in it as well. It is definitely flirty. So my idea would, for example, be to try to pick a song which is somewhat between emotions, which is not 100% jolly, fast-paced, happy, happy, joy, joy, I want to hold your hand, but which is also not sad like yesterday, but something a bit more undefined, that we can't place so easily. For example, Your Mother Should Know. Let's all get up and dance to a song that was a hit before your mother was born. Though she was born a long, long time ago. What is that? Is that sad? Is that happy? It's a bit thoughtful, maybe. So yeah, why not that? I'm gonna take that. Um, Now, if you've decided for a tune on the basis of its emotion and you think it fits, you might want to check if the chords look to you like you can play them. And then I'd suggest that you just work with the chords, with the set of chords that you find in this song that you picked on the basis of its emotion. Because the good thing is that you know that the people who wrote it were extremely good songwriters, so they chose chords that would fit. They chose chords that you can combine well. That sound like something. Something that you can build a melody on. So you want to pick one that doesn't look too difficult, and bear in mind you want to use it as the first chord and also as the last chord. Now, when we have a piece of text, a piece of Latin poetry, you know that there are breaks. Many verses are built in a way that there's a break somewhere. There's always a break at the end of every line, for instance, like that's a definite break we have. So what we can easily do is that we just, at the end of every line, change a chord. Because you can't play one chord through too long, otherwise it's going to be very boring. So let's say we want to have a new chord at the beginning of every new line. We want to start on the same that we ended on, and in this meter I have here, in every second verse there is also a break in the middle. So here behind Potior and behind Rigui there's a break. So what would make sense would be that we change the chords there as well. So how many chords do we need? We need one for the first line, Donec gratos eram tibi. Then we need a chord for Nec quisquam Potior. Then we want to change chords. We need another one for Brachia Candidae. Then we want to change again. We need a chord for Cervici Juvenis Dabat. Then we change again. And then we want one for Persarum Vigui. And then we want to change into the one that the whole thing started on, Rege Beatior. So that's what we're going to do. And we're just gonna give it a try, and I would suggest that you in the beginning don't yet try to sing to it, that you in the beginning don't yet try to really create like a difficult melody, but that you first of all focus really like on the chords, think about which ones you're comfortable with, and next thing, let's get the rhythm right. With getting the rhythm right, I mean, it's supposed to be easy. We know that meters consist of long syllables and short syllables. So what we can do with a musical instrument like a guitar is that for a long syllable we just strum it. That's nice, you know, for something long because it rings. You just strum it, and there we have our nice long ringy note. And for the short ones, we can just give the guitar a little knock, then it's straight away also going to sound a bit interesting. For example, now without looking at which chords to choose yet, if we just look at the rhythm, our Horace bit here, the first line would be long, 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 short, short, long, short. Well, and then something undefined at the end of the verse. At the end of the verse, we said that there's a break. So I suggest that before breaks, we just always let it ring, so that the break is not a mute pause, but that there's a sound in it. So our rhythm would be long, 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 short, short, long, short, end, long, 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 short, short, long, short ring. A bit slower. Long, 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 short, short, long, short ring. Okay, now let's suppose we've played around a bit with the chords of Your Mother Should Know and decided the following. First line would be Do nec gratus eram tibi, we take the C. Nec quisquam poteor, we go for the E7. Brachia candidae, we like the A minor. Cervici juvenis dabat, we could use another E7, why not? You can also, come back to chords you like, no problem. Persarum vigui, we go for D minor, and then we want to come back to the one we started it on. So Rege beatior would be a C. Now, if I play this in the meter, let's see how it sounds. It would be long, 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 short, short, long, short pause. Long, 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 short, short pause. Long, short, short, long, short pause. Long, 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 short, short, long, short pause. Long, 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 short, short pause. Long, short, short, long, short pause. Now, if we decide we like this, I mean, this is really just an example. I'm just going to go through with it now. I'm just going to stick with it now. Doesn't matter if I like it or not. If we decide we like this, the next step will be to actually combine the text, obviously, with this. So when we pronounce the text, one thing is important. We have to be sure that we get the pronunciation right, which means we have to make sure we get the lengths. We have to get the lengths of the vowels right. Lengths. We have to tell the long vowels from the short vowels correctly, and that does not always coincide with the long and short syllables of the meter. That's important. So, for example, very first word in this piece of text is pronounced donec with the short that next syllable has a short e in it, so that needs to be pronounced short. It doesn't matter that in meter it's measured long, it's still not pronounced neg. So what I like to do is that I give every piece of poetry really two lines, that I mark it with two lines. In one line I scan the meter, and I know that this is the rhythm of my piece of music in our case, and the other one really just refers to the vowel lengths for the pronunciation. You see that I did this here. Obviously the upper line where it says sil is for syllable, is German abbreviation here, because I'm a German speaker. And voc is almost Latin, vocalis. Vocal in German, so that's the vowel length. So we want to make sure that we pronounce the vowels in the correct length, no matter if within the meter the syllable is short or long. Other example in the second line, we have three long syllables in the beginning with nec quisquam. Still, this is not nec quisquam. Obviously, these are short vowels. Nec quisquam. So let's bear that in mind, that we don't pronounce stuff wrong. We don't want the pronunciation of the vowels to follow the meter. So if we just rap it before we come up with a singing melody, let's just rap it. Instead of saying long, 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 short, short, long, short, pause, we're actually going to say do nek gratus eram tibi. Do nek gratus eram tibi, nequisquam potior brachia candidae, cer vici juvenes dabat, persarum vigui, rege beatior. Now comes the last step. We want a singing melody. Where do we get a melody from? We can get it out of the chords. A chord is made of several notes. We've now just always strummed it and treated it basically as one sound, but we can play them one after the other and let ourselves be inspired by that. For example, if we take those three, we could make do ne gra out of it. We could just sing along with this. Do ne gra, do ne gratus eram, do ne gratus eram, tibi, do ne gratus eram tibi. How about that? It's maybe a bit difficult. It's maybe a bit tricky, isn't it? Do ne gratus eram tibi, do ne gratus eram tibi. Could do that, but we could also do something a bit simpler where we maybe repeat one note a bit more often, and we don't for every single syllable take a new note. I mean, obviously, you can also play around a bit with the height, like where your voice is comfortable. Do ne gratus eram tibi, do ne gratus eram tibi. That would be way less melodic. Do ne gratus eram tibi. It would be less melodic and much lower. So there are many options. Do ne gratus eram tibi, do ne gratus eram tibi. Play around with it. I've now played around with this, and do ne gratus eram tibi, nequisquam potior brachia candidae, cer vici juvenes dabat, persarum vigui, rege beatior.